You know, when you think of Cambodian history, what comes to mind? For almost everyone, it's one thing: the absolutely magnificent temples of Angkor. But the story of this kingdom is so much richer. Today, we're going to dive into the pivotal and honestly often overlooked centuries that came after Angkor's golden age. This is the period that truly forged modern Cambodia.
And yeah, this is the image, right? Angkor Wat. It's this incredible symbol of immense power, divine kingship, and engineering genius that just dominated Southeast Asia for centuries. This is the Cambodia that makes headlines and fills the travel books, a civilization at its absolute peak.
So, what happens when a civilization this grand seems to just kind of vanish? The centuries that followed are often treated like a historical black box, just this long, quiet decline. Well, as we're about to find out, it wasn't nearly that simple.
All right, so let's step away from the ruins of the old capital for a minute to really understand what happened. Because this period wasn't an ending. No way. It was a radical transformation that created the Cambodia we know today. And this really gets to the heart of the debate among historians. Was the post-Angkor era just a tragic story of collapse and decay? Or was it something else entirely? A super dynamic period of profound change, where the entire foundation of the kingdom was completely reshaped. Yeah, this quote absolutely nails it. The whole idea of decline kind of misses the point. Cambodia didn't just fade away. It became something totally new. It adapted, it shifted. You could even say it was reborn.
Okay, so this transformation, it wasn't just one thing. It was actually 3 seismic shifts that completely altered the kingdom's DNA. It changed where people lived, what they believed, how they made a living. I mean, it set Cambodia on a totally new course.
So let's break these 3 big shifts down. First up, geography. The kingdom literally turns its back on the inland rice fields of Angkor and moves its capital down to the bustling river trade routes. Then you've got this spiritual revolution. The super elaborate state-sponsored Hinduism of the God Kings gets replaced by the much more personal faith of Theravada Buddhism. And finally, the economy gets a complete overhaul. Power shifts from controlling land to controlling global trade.
And this slide just lays out that first shift so clearly, right? You had Angkor, which was all about looking inward. It was this massive machine built on farming and incredible irrigation, all designed to support a god king, a ruler literally seen as a living deity. And then you have the new capitals near Phnom Penh. Totally different. They're looking outward, built on rivers to connect with the entire world, and completely driven by trade. It's a whole new model for a civilization.
All right, now for that second huge shift, religion. Theravada Buddhism comes in and just sweeps through the population. And this wasn't just a change in who you prayed to. This was a societal earthquake. It completely dissolved the power of the old, powerful priestly families. It changed the whole idea of what a king was, from a god on earth to a protector of the faith, and it just reset the culture.
And what's so cool is you can actually see this change in the art. Look on the left, you've got this super intricate, divine, otherworldly art of Angkor. Now look at the right, a representation of the much more restrained, human-scale art that came after. The whole focus just shifts from gods up in heaven to people down here on earth.
The historian Ashley Thompson sums it up perfectly here. The sensuality and majesty of the divine virtually disappear. I mean, that just captures this massive cultural pivot, doesn't it? The grand cosmic drama of the Angkorian world just gives way to a much more personal spiritual reality.
Now, this economic pivot was absolutely crucial. Cambodia plugs itself right into the expanding maritime trade network, especially with China. You can literally watch the elite change their priorities. Forget land, it's all about commerce now. And these new capitals became these cosmopolitan hubs, full of traders from all over Asia, and even from Europe.
But, and this is a huge but, this new, globalized, outward-looking world was full of dangers. By moving its capital south and turning to the sea, Cambodia basically walked right into the path of 2 massive, expanding empires.
And this becomes the defining reality for the next 400 years. It's like being caught in a vice. To the west, you have the powerful kingdom of Siam, which is today's Thailand. And to the east, a relentlessly expanding Vietnam. Cambodia was stuck right in the middle, and that situation would spark centuries of conflict.
And these 2 giants, they weren't the same. They squeezed in totally different ways. Siam saw Cambodia as like a culturally similar younger brother, one it felt fine invading all the time to assert its dominance. Vietnam, on the other hand, was all about colonization, just absorbing Cambodian land in the Mekong Delta and trying to administratively swallow the kingdom whole.
So all this pressure from the outside,
It just lit a fire on the inside. It starts in the 1620s, when Vietnam's expansion starts to choke off Cambodia's access to the sea. Then by the 1680s, the Cambodian court fractures, with some people siding with the Thais and others with the Vietnamese, leading to endless civil war. Fast forward to the late 1700s, and the whole kingdom is just devastated. And by the 1830s and 40s, wow, it's almost game over. Cambodia is nearly wiped off the map.
Wow. I mean, this quote from the Vietnamese emperor just says everything, doesn't it? There's zero concept of Cambodia as its own country here. It's seen as a child, something to be managed and disciplined by its bigger parents. It's a really chilling way to look at it.
Okay, so after all that upheaval, all that transformation and turmoil, what's the legacy? What are we left with? Well, far from being some forgotten dark age, this was the period that actually built the foundations of the modern Cambodian nation.
Right. It wasn't a dark age at all. It was a formative age. The choices made back then, moving the capital, embracing Buddhism, learning to navigate the constant threat of its neighbors, all of that created the cultural and political DNA of Cambodia today. And that central challenge of being caught between giants continues to define its history.
So we're back where we started, with this incredible image of Angkor. But now, hopefully, with a new understanding. Think about this quote for a second. Cambodia's identity is just so deeply linked to its past greatness, a constant reminder of what was. But the nation that carries that flag wasn't forged in those temples. It was forged in the fires of the centuries that came after.
And that kind of leaves us with this one big question to think about. It's easy for us to focus on the golden ages of civilizations, right? The high points. But maybe, just maybe, it's those messy, complicated in-between periods, the centuries of struggle and transformation, that truly tell us who a nation really is today.